Hello, how's everybody doing today? If you have just a moment, if I could have just a moment of your time, I want to point out some things about the situation that I notice is going on globally so that I can, spark some interest, maybe spark some debate and have some people think about some things really quickly. Now, first of all, I wanted to open this video by saying that Muslims, Christians, and Jews, for that matter, have been at war for centuries. Centuries. They've constantly been fighting each other. We're talking about crusades, Christians fighting Christians in the crusades, Christians fighting Muslims in the crusades. Then you have things like World War II, where they made it a Christian versus Jew thing. So Christians, Muslims, and Jews have been fighting for centuries. But I want to point out that none of our Judeo-Christian or Islamic religions uh, sanctions murder, especially not of innocence. Okay, so while these wars have been labeled as Christian, Muslim, and Jewish wars, those people planning those wars, bringing those wars about, instigating those wars, we're not Christians, we're not Muslims, and we're not Jews. Okay, because none of those three religions sanctions murder of innocence, especially not for personal gain. And that's the point I want to make. Most of these conflicts have resulted in non-religious gain. During the Crusades, even though the Crusades were supposedly to spread Christianity, most of it was about land and trade routes. The Islamic people had a monopoly on the trade routes to North Africa and to out to the east, and the Christian religions were fighting them over those trade routes and painting it with a cross. Okay, these were not for religious gain. The Holocaust was not for some type of religious gain. It was for economic gain. Germany wanted to be the greatest power on the planet. They wanted to conquer all of Europe and probably all of the world eventually. And so that is why they went to war. The Jews were just fuel to mobilize an entire nation to war. Okay, that was not for religious gain. Now, what we're seeing here nowadays is you have the Muslim people once again targeted by the world, the entire religion, the entire people, okay, for things that a very, very, very small minority of people are doing. And it's becoming a whole religious thing where it's like the Christians banding together against the Muslims. And now you have the Jews trying to congregate themselves. The president of Israel telling all Jews to come home out of Europe because the European Jews are like, what do we do? Because all the immigrants from Syria and other countries out in the Middle East are immigrating into Europe. But this is not a religious thing. We have to remember that these governments that rule us, if they even follow or truly believe in religion, most of the things they do are secular in nature. They're not religious in nature. So, what's going on with ISIS? ISIS is destabilizing the Middle East. It's creating smaller, weaker states, which in turn would be easier to dominate by the West, by Israel, by the United States, and by Europe in order to commandeer all of their resources. Okay, this is the same thing that they did to the African countries. They go in, they create conflict by proxy or directly. They create smaller, weaker states as a result, and then they come in and say, hey, let us help you. Let us rebuild and let us commandeer all of your natural resources to further our economic goals. That's what's happening in the Middle East. Now, they've been trying this for a long time. And when I say they, I'm not talking about the United States, I'm not talking about Europe. I mean the powers that be that benefit the most from commandeering these resources. And believe it or not, that's not always necessarily the governments. It could be private corporations. I mean, I'm not going to act like I have knowledge of that, but the trends themselves are obvious. Okay. Um, Notice that ISIS has not gone after Israel. Has not gone after Israel. ISIS has supposedly gone after the United States. I say that because there is no verifying evidence of that, just what the media has told us. Um, they supposedly gone after Europe. They've obviously gone after the Western and Northwestern African countries, and obviously they're in the Middle East. but they have not gone after Israel. And if supposedly the enemy of Muslims is the Jews and the Christians, why have they not gone after the epicenter for Judaism? It's because it's not a religious goal. ISIS is there to destabilize the region. Now, who commissioned ISIS to do that? I don't know. I'm not psychic. I don't know all of these things. Okay. Now, also, another way ISIS is destabilizing the region is forcing all of the population out of the region. We see in the news all of this talk about immigrants and how the U.S. Some people in the U.S. wants to keep them out. The same thing is going on in Europe. It has been going on in Europe for a long time. In Britain, it has been going on for a long time. Them trying to keep out all of the immigrants. They're smaller than us, so you know. Also in Israel, Israel is trying to bring in all the Jews, but of course they're not taking any the Syrians, Palestinians, anything like that. This is it's further destabilizing the region, it's creating a real problem. You have a vacuum that's sucking all the population out of the Middle East and out of some of the African countries, and there's no one to replace it. That's going to drop the economy down to zero. Okay. It's going to really destabilize the finances. Now, ISIS is getting funded by oil. They commandeered a lot of the oil plants and things like that. They're getting funded somewhere around 300 million, I think, last time I read. So they're getting funded by oil, but eventually they'll be defeated. And when they're defeated, where's all that money going to go? To the defeating party. Now, as far as let's get out of the Middle East and ISIS. As far as our countries, and when I say our countries, I mean the European nations and the North American nations. Nationalism and enhanced racial awareness benefits the far right, and when I say that, I mean it benefits the idea that we should be isolationists, that we should reject certain people, and it's getting down to the point where we're back to the whole black versus white. Well, white versus everybody. Christian versus Muslim. The Jews are kind of slinking back in the Americas, but this is not going to promote longevity for our economy and for our people in the long run. All it does is create conflict. Why do they want the conflict? I don't know, but it benefits the far right because they can play off of that, and because of their platform, they can get votes. All they have to do is create conflict in the media. They don't. I guess they are gambling that they don't believe people will really go out and fisticuffs, duke it out. But they're gambling. And as far as Donald Trump, I did not want to mention him in this video. Oh my God. But anyway, as far as Donald Trump goes, Donald Trump is just a lightning rod. He puts ideas out into the minds of the people and then absorbs all the negative controversy because he's Donald Trump. He has millions in property and things like that. He doesn't need your good graces or positivity. He doesn't need your approval. Okay, he can go on with his life perfectly fine, taking all this negativity. He's been doing it for a long time. So he was commissioned by the party to go out there, plant ideas in people's minds, and then take all the negativity, be the lightning rod, and then disappear again. Well, not disappear, because I don't think he'll ever disappear, but you get what my point is. He's creating dissension. It benefits the far right. It gets them votes. Look at all these people out here right now talking about, oh, we don't want Muslims in our store and Muslim free zone and things like that. It created a safe zone for them to express their racist tendencies, their nationalist tendencies, and their religious isolationist tendencies. Okay. Trump and the Republican Party and just the government in general of America is playing the people, is playing off of their mass-mindedness, their groupthink, and playing off of ignorance as well as just plain old stupidity. Okay, people are too wrapped up in emotion or subjective views of world events to actually stop and think about what might be the cause and who would benefit from such action. You think these people, first of all, ISIS, it's been known that a lot of their main members, the leadership of ISIS, are college educated. And when I say college educated, I mean in the West, college educated individuals, people with intelligence, with formal education and things like that. These are not like fools. They have goals, and those goals are not religious. I'm telling you, they're not religious. Okay. Um, and that's really all I wanted to say. This video is 10 minutes. I wanted it to be like 2, but I'm interested to see what everyone else thinks about this. I would appreciate it if you could, comment and we can have a discussion, because I really want to get some people thinking, because I think that too many people are just blindly following the latest meme they see or the latest clip from Fox News. All right. Anyway, everybody, have a blessed day. Peace.